In a self-directed learning environment, to support your child at home, there's a number of things that are important. I think one is to have a regular ongoing conversation about goals. On Monday, for example, to ask your learner, what goals did you set for today? What goals did you set for the whole week? And then at minimum on Friday to ask, how did it go? And to really find out, trust and verify is something that we like to say, but to really find out how it went. And just that level of accountability and support and that consistency and cadence back and forth can really signal to a learner that their goals matter, that other folks are involved, and that can be really powerful. I think another thing that parents can do and caregivers can do at home is to ask learners specifically, after they have a learning experience, to ask them what they think they're capable of. Like, what do you think you can do about this? And then also ask them what they think will happen if they do a certain thing. And there's a number of developmental theories that suggest that if we as parents and caregivers ask our learners these self-reflective questions, like, what are you capable of? What do you think is gonna happen if you do this thing? Or if you don't do this thing, what do you think is gonna happen? That over time, and by the way, if we ask those questions and we don't judge their answers, we let them answer in their own way, over time, they will build their own self-efficacy, they will build their own belief in what they feel like they're capable of doing, and they will gain a greater understanding of what they think is gonna happen, what they know will happen, what they are able to predict will happen if they take certain actions. And over time, developmental theorists say that that's gonna impact their interests, what they're interested in. Either they get more passionate about the thing that they're interested in, or they get interested in something completely new, completely different. And as a result, they set new goals, and they take new actions. In addition, I think it's really important for parents to or caregivers to let learners know that they and our guides are all on the same page about expectations. That because they've made a series of promises through this contract, that we expect them to live into those promises, that there will be consequences for their actions, whether they're positive or negative, that they will be responsible, that they're on the hook, that they're in charge of their learning, that when they set a goal, we're gonna take them at their word. And it's really powerful when a learner perceives that their school staff, the guides, the head of school, the parents are all on the same page. When that happens and they perceive that, learning and development really accelerates. And lastly, I think another way to support learners at home is to think through what are the incentives that they can provide for their learners, both intrinsic, so coming from within, as well as extrinsic, so rewards that they can provide for their learners for doing their work, for shouldering the responsibility for their own learning. That's powerful. And at the school, we're often thinking about that, and we're designing incentives at the group and at the individual level. But when parents decide to do that as well, it can be really, really powerful. The last thing that might be the hardest for parents to do, but it is a way of supporting learners in a self-directed environment, is to keep learners at the center and keep them responsible for their learning. As parents and caregivers, we see areas and moments where we're tempted to step in and we're tempted to we're tempted to make a decision. But to the extent a parent or a caregiver will release the reins and let the learner come to their responsibility, come to their conclusions on their own, it's incredibly powerful. There's a lot of pressure in our country, there's a lot of pressure in a teacher-led environment for parents to expect for learners to know certain things by a certain time. And some of that is connected to educational research, and some of that is connected to developmental theory, but most of it is made up. Most of it is, hey, we say that by 3rd grade, someone in our country must know this by this time. That is arguable. And so what's actually more valuable and more important is when we as parents shepherd them through the process of, instead of learning something when we say they have to, shepherding them through the process of learning something because they decide that they want to. There's a trade-off. If we step in and require and force, there's a trade-off. And we want parents and caregivers to consider that trade-off, because when learners do fully shoulder the responsibility for their learning, there's no turning back.